Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Thursday. It is July the 21st. This will be our chart lesson for today, and this will wrap our week up. What looked to be a really slow day that wasn't going to amount to anything had a really nice sell-off here at the end of the day. So we finally got some movement. It's the only thing when you run into this enough, eventually you're going to get some movement, and we did finally get it. So. Um, Still not a lot of entries today. A little bit more straightforward probably than yesterday. No real surprises. This was the only surprise when it kept going lower. You really figured we'd probably bounce here, but no fake outs or anything. It just dropped on through, and this is a spiking channel is the way I saw it. And yeah, some pretty good movement here. Not a lot of entries on it. If you caught it up here, you caught the high of the day, basically, and before a big move down. So that's the key to catching these breakouts. Really, your overnight high was up here a little bit higher, like here, but as the day went on, you got to adjust, and really, I ended up with it right here. So, but anyway, let's back out a little bit, talk about the trades, and we'll wrap the week up. This won't take long today again because there's not a whole lot of trades. This trade was really tempting here. When I came in, we were right in here somewhere, 7 o'clock hour. I don't see any reason to go long here, really. You might could have looked at this like a failed break lower and had a long right here. Uh, if you're wanting to be aggressive, it would have worked, but I think you're better off to skip it. And then you do get a double top here, but again, you don't know if you really want to go short here because we're really not doing anything. You got to be really careful on these trades to make sure that you're not getting fooled, because what'll happen is you'll get whipsawed in both directions, and you'll have 2 or 3 losses, and then you kind of give up. Um, so I'm not crazy about that one. I did like this short here. Let me show you. You basically got a little double bottom here, and you come up. You get a first entry short. You get a second entry short. So it looks like a second entry failed, but look how all the bars are just stacking up there. There's too big a chance you might get tricked here. And so when you make this double top, notice the new high here, you pull back first entry and you pull back, and there's a second entry long there, and it fails, and it's lower than the double top. So I like that for a trap um, it's a long trap basically. You're hoping it's going to go lower and maybe give you a measured leg like what we had over here, but it doesn't. You get a scalp out of it, but then it bounces. So now you've tested this level twice, but you don't really have a very good signal bar. But when you tried to go lower 2 more times and failed, I like going long there. It is a second entry long because this is basically a double top, so it's pulled back first entry, and then it tried to go lower a couple different times there, and that's very bearish. And hopefully you understand why you wouldn't go short there. And so they trapped some people there most likely. Off it goes. And we do get outside the trend line here and make a new high. And really, I like this trade just simply because it's a failed break higher. I mean, this is obvious. At this point, I really still kind of had this a little lower and had moved it up. But really, those closes and where you get the most touches tend to be the better spots. But anyway, you close outside. You're just a long way from the EMA when you've been running straight across, almost staying on the EMA. So this is probably high probability trades, failed break higher. And it turns out to be a quick, easy move. You get another shot at it right there, but I just don't think I'd go short right there because you got 1, 2, 3, 4 stacked up, and you're kind of up and down, and there's a good chance it may break and go higher. But it ends up coming right back down to the low again, and when it does touch this low, I like going long right there just to try to ride it back to the other side. And that's where it goes. And then, of course, you're looking for it to come back down to this side. But by the time you get this nice bar here, you got a pretty good signal bar here, but it never would break lower until you had 3 or 4 of them stacked up. So you might have gone short right here, because that would have given you enough room to get out. So I guess I should make that one green. But I'll explain to you here. Let me get this changed over. The reason I really don't like it is because you're going sideways so much. But the reason you are is you're kind of stuck between the resistance and the EMA, and that's kind of common. Um, but you are looking for prices to come to the other side because it's a range, and so you might enter that trade right there. I think you're better off to wait and see what happens, and then by the time you get this bar, it's too close to the low. You wouldn't have room to get out. And then again, it bounces right off those lows. The only reason I don't make this one blue um, is because it's a bearish signal bar. But this is very strong support. We've tested this level multiple times. And so if it breaks higher, we're probably going back to the upper side, which again, it takes off. Get a little close outside, it moves up and it breaks a little higher again. So by this time, you might have moved that up to here, and you can see what it looks like there. And again, it's a little failed break higher. Nice bearish bar. I like that one because most of your trades, your successful trades, are going to be shorts off this side and longs off this side. So I like that one. It doesn't take off though. It kind of bumps along, but look how it can't close outside. Then you get another bearish bar. It is stacked up there, but again, it's just kind of getting hung up between the EMA and the resistance here. But when it broke higher and then you end up getting this bearish bar, I like that to try to ride it back to the other side. And this is where you get a surprise. Actually, this would have been an add-on really. And so you'd have two sets going, and look what would have happened. You'd have a runner that runs all the way. Of course, you may not have been using runners on a day like this because most of the time they're not going to work. But this is a good example of why you might always want to use a runner, because look what you would have caught here. And this being able to get in this close with that much room down here, you might hold a runner because you're going to get a little more anyway. Instead of getting a point, you might get almost 2 points. So there's a reason to consider runners on this trade and these two, and maybe these smaller ones across the bottom too. So, but yeah, this turns out to be a great setup. It pulls back. This one I struggled with whether it should be green because you got a little trend line working up and you don't really get a close outside till here. But you got that 3-bar matching high. You can't even get back to the EMA. That's very bearish. So it's a second entry short. Notice the new low. You pull back first entry, you pull back second entry. So it's a two-legged pullback to the EMA, and it turns out to be a trend line too. And that's a big move down. So you're likely to test this again. And so I like that one. It's real close to being green just simply because there's no close outside. I mean, that's one of the best ways to filter these trades is by using these shorter term trend lines. And on a couple of these today, if you waited on the filter, you didn't have a trade, especially once we started moving down. So, and then once we started going lower, I would look for a measured leg here. And that would have really taken you right into the lows of the day. You can see that. And I would also measure it from here because that's part of the move too. Measure it both ways, starting with this one. And you can see that really gets you almost a perfect measured move. So that would also be a reason to be thinking to continue short until you had that measured move. But then you come back and you get the same thing again, although this is just a first entry on this one. But it confirms that trend. It's at the trend line, possible trend line. Of course, you probably wouldn't have had that trend line yet. So you just say it's a pullback to the EMA, and then you draw this trend line. And so I like entering there. It's a double top as well. That's the main reason I like that one. And you actually get a second chance here when it pulls back. That confirms that trend line. That's the third touch, and it goes higher and then turns and goes right out the other side. You got room to get out. And again, that just drops straight down. Um, and then I like this one too because it's your failed second entry short. Notice this is a double top, so it's a new high. Pull back first entry, pull back second entry, and it's just a pull back to retest that breakout area. And it's a real small bar, only 2 ticks. And I like going short right there, looking for it to push down one more time. And this one again could be real close. Um, the thing is, you're looking for that measured move, and this thing is looking really weak. So for whatever reason, it sold off pretty strongly. So this turned out just to be a nice surprise here on the way down, and this thing was really weak here. So, and this is a spike in a channel. And really, your better trades are going to be off the trend line, but it never came back to it until after 2 o'clock, and then even then it just reversed. We noticed we got an overshoot and it reversed, so no retest. But yeah, pretty good day. Started off looking like we weren't going to do anything today, and again, when it's really tight like this, you got to make sure you got small bars on the far edges. You just want to make sure you got room to get out before you get to the other side. Because if you don't, this is what happens to you. It may push through and still close inside and push through, but push through and give you enough to get out, but it may not. Just like right here, there's a short trap. Notice this low, first entry, second entry, but you're going long right into that. And it would have worked, but you don't have any guarantees it'll push through. It was a trap. So you might even consider making that one green, but I don't even like it just because you're going long right into those highs with not much room there, and you could easily get burned right there. But it is a trap, so yeah, probably make it green too. So, but yeah, not much else I can say about today. It's been just a slow week. This is probably the best move we've had in a couple of days as far as moving, trending. And you can see now the difference between this. Look how prices are consistently up and above and below the EMA. And look, once we start trending, everything is consistently below the EMA. That's a nice trend. You're just looking for reasons to get short as long as it stays like that. And then you finally get a little overshoot, and then you got to be leery of anything after that because with that overshoot, you may not get a retest. So, and you didn't today. So, yeah, that's going to be it for today. Not much else we can say. I'm going to wrap it up. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.